and I can only talk to the birds. But one night, 2 or 3 weeks later, Becky came into Sarah's room. She was very excited. "Oh, miss," she said, "an Indian gentleman is moving into the house next door. Well, he is English, but he lived in India for years and years, and now he is going to live next door. He is very rich, and he is ill. Something bad happened to him, but I don't know what." Sarah laughed. "How do you know all this?" she said. "Well, miss, you know the Carmichael family across the street," Becky said. "I'm friendly with their kitchen girl, and she told me Mr. Carmichael is the Indian gentleman's lawyer, so they know all about him." Every morning, when Sarah gave the birds their bread, she looked across to the attic window next door, but nobody opened it. Up, nobody called out "Good morning" across the roof, or gave a Sarah friendly smile. Perhaps the Indian gentleman's servants all sleep downstairs, she thought sadly. Her life was very lonely now. She saw Becky every day, of course, but they did not have much time for talking. The cook and the other servants were not friendly. Sometimes at night Nancy came up to Sarah's room, but it was not easy for her to come often. Then one evening Sarah was in her attic when she heard a noise on the roof. She looked up, and there at the open window was a small monkey. "Oh, you dear little thing!" cried Sarah. At once the monkey jumped down and began to run round the room. Sarah laughed. She got up on the table and looked out of her window, and at the next window she saw a face, the smiling face of an Indian lascar. "Oh," cried Sarah, "have you got a monkey? He is in my room." The lascar's name was Ramdas, and yes, it was his monkey. He gave Sarah a big smile. "I'm sorry," he said. "Can I come and get him?" "Oh, yes, please," said Sarah. "I think he is afraid of me, and he runs so fast. But can you get across the roof?" Yes, Ramdas could, and a minute later he was in Sarah's room. Soon the monkey jumped into his arms, and Ramdas thanked Sarah again and again. Then he went away across the roof, back into the house next door. Sarah went to the shops 5 or 6 times a day, and when she walked past the house next door, she often thought about the Indian gentleman. She felt sorry for him. He had no wife or family, and the doctor visited the house every day. Mr. Carmichael, the lawyer, often visited too, and sometimes the Carmichael children went with him. Sarah was pleased about that. It is nice to see friendly faces when you are ill, she thought. The Indian gentleman thought that too. He liked children very much, but he was a very unhappy man. Mr. Carmichael was his friend, and he talked to him a lot, but they talked about only one thing. "I must find the child," said the Indian gentleman. His name was Mr. James. "I must find her and take care of her. But where is she? Here I am, with all this money from the diamond mines, and half of it is Ralph Crew's money. Oh, Carmichael, why did I leave my friend and run away when things looked bad? Why?" "You ran away because you were ill with a fever," said Mr. Carmichael. "It nearly liked you, remember, and it did kill poor Ralph," said Mr. James. "He put all his money into the mines because I was his friend, but at first we didn't find any diamonds, and all Ralph's money was gone. I was afraid to tell him, so I ran away, and later, when we did find diamonds, Ralph was dead." He laughed angrily. "What a brave friend I was." "Not easy to be brave," Mr. Carmichael said quietly. When you're ill with a fever, Mr. James looked into the fire. Ramdas tells me, he said, about a little servant girl next door. The monkey ran away, and Ramdas went across the roof to get him back from her room. The poor child sleeps in a cold, dirty attic and works about 16 hours a day. Is Ralph's daughter living like that? I can't stop thinking about it. We are going to find her one day, said Mr. Carmichael. But how? Said Mr. James. He put his head in his hands. I never saw her. I don't know her name. Ralph always called her his little missus. We talked all the time about the mines. He never told me the name of her school. Her mother was French, so did he take her to a school in France? Or was it in England? Well, we know there was a child at a school in Paris, said Mr. Carmichael, with the name of Carew or Crew. Her father died suddenly, and a Russian family took her away with them because she was a friend of their daughter. Perhaps this girl is Ralph Crew's child. Next week I'm going to Moscow to look for her. I want to go with you, but I'm not well, said Mr. James. I must find her, Carmichael. I must, every night. In my dreams I see Ralph Crew's face, and he says, Tom, where is my little missus? And I have no answer for him. Mr. James took his friend's hand. Help me to find her. Help me. Winter came, with its short dark days, and the attic rooms were very cold. There were no fires for servant girls, and often Sarah and Becky could not sleep because of the cold. Sarah was taller now, and her old black dress was very short. Her shoes were old, and she had no warm coat for the winter weather. She was thin too. She did not get very much to eat, and she was always hungry. She carried big basket of shopping through the rain and the snow. One day she found a sixpence in the snow, and she bought some hot new bread with it. Then she saw a child by the door of the shop. The child had no shoes and no coat, and her thin face was blue with cold. She is hungrier than I am, thought Sarah, and she gave her hot new bread to the child. When she got back to the school, Miss Minchin was angry. Cook is waiting for you, Sarah. Why are you late? I can't walk quickly through the snow, said Sarah. My shoes are old, Miss Minchin, and my feet get very cold. Miss Minchin did not like to hear this. Don't speak to me like that, she said. I am kind to you. I'm giving you a home, but you never say thank you to me. Sarah looked at her. You are not kind, she said quietly, and this is not a home. Go to your room at once, said Miss Minchin. On the stairs, Sarah met Lavinia. Lavinia looked at her and gave a little laugh. Oh, here's Princess Sarah, she said, in her old dress and her dirty shoes. In the attic, Sarah sat down on the chair by her table. I must be brave, she whispered. A princess is always brave, so I must be too. But it is not easy. She put her head down on her arms. Oh, father, do you remember your little missus? Can you see me now? And in the house next door, Mr. James sat by a warm fire. Moscow is a long way from London, and he could only wait. But he thought about Ralph Crew's child every day. He thought about other children too. Ramdas, he said, how is that poor little servant girl next door? Can we do something for her? I see her in the street every day, said Ramdas. In the rain, in the snow, she looks thin and hungry, but we can help her. I can easily get in through her attic window. Listen. And he talked for some minutes. Yes, I like it. Let's do it. Nancy got quietly out of bed and went upstairs to the attic. Sarah was not there, So Nancy sat on the bed and waited. At 10 o'clock, Sarah came slowly up the stairs and into the room. Nancy looked at her. "Oh, Sarah," she said, "are you ill? Your face is white, and you look so tired." "It was a hard day, Nancy," said Sarah. She sat down. "Miss Minchin was angry with Cook. Then Cook was angry with us.